Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I'm your host for tonight, Brewer, and I'm joined by my fellow host, Connor.
Hello, Brewer. I'm really glad you have joined me for the start of my nightly journey.
Cool. So, what are you thinking of for your name for your nightly journey?
Well, as you know, I love garden tools, so I was thinking of Scythe Knight.
I think that's already been taken, Chief.
Okay, then how about Pesticide Knight?
I think that's already someone else's gimmick.
Ah, jeez. Okay, I've got it. Hoe Knight.
Yeah, how about you don't do that? Let's just go with Shovel Knight.
I can't do that, Brewer. That's the name of the most renowned knight in history.
I've literally never heard of this guy, Connor.
You've never heard of Shovel Knight, Brewer? Okay. Well, I'm gonna fix that, and today I'm gonna tell you, Brewer, about the grand adventure of Shovel Knight. And that brings us to today's topic, Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight.
A game that was released in 2014, I want to say.
Yeah, I feel old. It's been over a decade since the first campaign released.
Truly, we are old, Brewer.
We're Unk. We're Unk, Connor.
We're Unk.
Yeah, but no, Shovel Knight released over a decade ago from a Kickstarter campaign that was very successful. And after Shovel Knight, there was many more campaigns that they released on top of it for the package that is now being sold as Treasure Trove. But for today, we're just going to focus on the first and original campaign, Shovel Knight, which, if you don't know, you can still buy separately, but is also considered just the main, I guess, canon, I guess. Though some of the other campaigns follow more of a prequel route, so it's kind of weird. But either way, Shovel Knight is a fantastic campaign. In it, you have a very straightforward plot of you were Shovel Knight, you had a friend of Shield Knight, and through some stuff that happens, eventually this bad person named the Enchantress and her Order of No Quarter takes over the land to spread evil. So you, as the just knight you are, need to go across the land and defeat the Order of No Quarter and restore peace to the land, and while also trying to, maybe find Shield Knight as well to figure out what happened to them.
True. And yeah, it's, a really simple premise, save the damsel in distress sort of thing. But I really do like the setup for this game because it introduces you to the sort of wacky little world, because I think it's very clear this game is kind of inspired by Mega Man to a degree.
Oh yeah, no, definitely that, and just obviously has its inspirations from a lot of different games from the 8-bit generation. I mean, its art style clearly is representative of that, but it also does a lot to stand out on its own, which is what made this game so great. It was a mix of referencing the great oldies while putting in their own path. Some modern revisions that makes the game a lot more fun to play as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's just so much about this game that is so fun to play. And a good part of that is due to Shovel Knight's moveset. So Shovel Knight's moveset is pretty simple, but you can do a lot with it. You have, your basic attack where he swings his shovel, which you can use not only to attack enemies, but to also dig up little treasure spots to get money, which, that's really fun. You've got a little pogo you can do if you are in the air. And as we know from almost any game that has a pogo, it's pretty good.
Pretty addictive, I'd say.
Yeah. And then you also have a button that allows you to use, a wide range of like different items and stuff like that, which we'll be going into depth with later.
Yeah, I'd say what makes Shovel Knight so great isn't like he has the most crazy intricate moveset. It feels very tight, like the controls just feel very solid all the way around. He's not too floaty.
Yeah.
He's not sliding around too much. Shovel Knight always feels very solid to control, and if I mess up, because there are a lot of the classic inspired 8-bit traps of bottomless pit and spikes that will one-shot you, or just bosses with some crazy attack patterns. If whenever I fell to those, usually I felt like it was my fault and I could have done something for the most part. And that's just because he feels really great to control. Like I feel like they nailed every part of what they were inspired from, but also stepped it up a notch to just make it feel just so fluid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree, because as someone who has played like some of the older Mega Man games and stuff like that, a big like sort of thing is that like sometimes it just feels like not fun to control, just because I mean they were very early games.
Yeah.
So
Well, in full
had
fairness for
like
the Mega Man games as well, like like half of the first games were made with fucking skeleton crews, while Capcom was like giving them scraps.
oh no, yeah, again, I it's not like completely on their fault. They were doing the best with it, what they've got, but with Shovel Knight, that's not clearly not what happened, and so the controls just feel so nice and like um just like fun to control and stuff like that.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
best way I could describe it.
Yeah, and I think one thing that helps with this is the way they teach you about it, because again, your moveset's very simple, but there's a lot you can do with it, especially within the stages. And it starts off with a great tutorial stage, in my opinion, because they don't really explicitly ever really tell you much about how to use Shovel Knight's abilities. If you get a new relic, they'll give you a little description of it. But
Yeah.
for his base moveset, you go across the stage and you usually run into something where you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, oh, I have to go down there, but there's no ladder. So then, oh, clicks in your head. Maybe I gotta jump and then do the shovel drop. There's like, oh, there's a bunch of like gravel pits over here. I've been using my shovel to attack these enemies. Maybe I can use it to scoop these up. And what do you know? I got some gems for doing that.
Yeah.
And that just keeps like building on top of itself with that throughout the levels. Like, oh, that little pogo jump you're using to just go down, now you're using it to cross wide chasms that you couldn't do without. So now you're bouncing off bubbles and stuff. They just keep adding new stuff to build off on top of it, and you especially will see that later with the stages as well, with the new mechanics they add to just make for a really solid campaign overall.
Yeah. And something that I think makes this campaign so much fun is the bosses. And in true Mega Man fashion, they're all a variation of a different kind of knight. So you've got, characters like King Knight or Plague Knight or Spectre Knight, and all of them have their own little like bosses and gimmicks and stuff like that, and and have their like own stages dedicated to them.
Yeah, then they have a lot of personality to them as well, because, like we said before, the story of Shovel Knight is very straightforward and simple. They're not trying to write the next Shakespeare or anything, but
Yeah.
they are very witty and charming characters. Shovel Knight has some banter with them, usually before every fight, and also some of them have some interesting, like, lore implications, like, I'm talking to Polar Knight, they're talking about their past, and stuff is like, it's interesting because this dude also uses a shovel. Ooh, shovel.
Shovel versus shovel violence,
Shovel on shovel violence. You hate to see it.
truly. But yeah, no, I think I guess what's one of your favorite bosses, Brewer?
Oh, that's a hard one, but I'd say one that feels kind of underrated to me is Propeller Knight. And while a lot of people don't rank him as high as the other ones, just because he doesn't have as much spectacle, one thing I do like about him is he does make you just like think on your feet a little bit, because a common strategy I would use against a lot of the bosses, just because it usually kind of always worked for the most part, is just keep bouncing on the boss's head. It's really satisfying. I could just land on top of him, and I usually wasn't in as much danger. But Propeller Knight would be sticking his like rapier up into the air to like stab you a lot of times. So I felt like that
Yeah.
was a great fight. He would count your moveset in that way, to where you have to think on your feet and not just play by your own rules all the time. You know?
Yeah, I completely agree. Personally, one of my favorite ones is Treasure Knight, who had is like the captain of a giant like submarine, and who is very much based off of like a deep sea diver and stuff like that, who uses an anchor to attack you. I just remember having so much like I really like his design and the whole aesthetic with him, and I think he's a pretty fun fight too.
Oh yeah, especially the way he just like kind of has like a link hook shot in a way, to where he flies
Yeah,
across the screen to hit you. I did love
yeah.
that.
It's just such a memorable boss in my opinion.
Yeah. I'd say the other two I want to focus on as well, because they got whole campaigns to themselves, is Spectre Knight and Plague Knight.
Yeah.
Like, besides them just like having awesome designs, like they were just really fun to fight, and I think that's why so many people like voted for them with the campaigns that we ended up getting. Because like Spectre Knight just like has all these really cool scythe attacks. He summons like minions from the dead to attack you in the dark. And then Plague Knight has this whole destructible environment. He's throwing down random potions and shit, and you just have to keep dodging and weaving. It's a lot of fun. And I think one thing
Yeah.
that adds to this is the great soundtrack that Shovel Knight came with, because
Oh
each
yeah.
area has like a very unique theme that like you can distinctly tell apart from the other areas. A lot of them do not sound the same. I can very much tell. Oh yeah, this is Plague Knight stage. They got all the crazy noises going on in the background. It feels all chaotic and stuff. Spectre Knight feels just dreadful the whole time. It's like rain in the background. There's all the lightning sound effects that are added in the stage as
Yeah.
well. It's really great.
Yeah, I personally am such a big fan of the Lich-Yard, which is Spectre Knight stage. I love that background music. It's so good.
Oh yeah, no, it's fantastic all around. I'd say if you pick up the game, I don't think there's gonna be like a single track you'll like say is like even bad. At
I was
worst, it
worried.
would be average.
I was worried you're gonna end your sentence there. Like, there's not gonna be a single track you like.
This game is
Like,
terrible. We hate Shovel Knight. Never play
yeah,
any
we're
Yacht Club games, especially the new one, Mina the Hollower.
never play their games. They're
Never. They need
terrible.
to go bankrupt. Don't buy their games.
Yeah. Um, we'll be talking about Mina the Hollower near the end of the video, but do we want to talk about like some of the like super awesome and cool items that you can use?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely down for that, because what can help with a lot of these kind of difficult boss fights, because you do have checkpoints throughout the stages, but sometimes you're getting your shit slapped in. There are a lot of different items you can use that can help, which some of them feel like direct counters to the bosses. Other ones are just great and as like just support items in general. If there's like a specific thing you struggle with,
Yeah.
that's
My I was gonna say one of my personal favorites is the Dust Knuckles.
Dust Knuckles are really fun.
Yeah, just these giant gauntlets you can punch through people with.
Yeah, just rip and tear. I'd say I like more of the items that are like environmental. So like, don't get me wrong, Dust Knuckles are really fun, along with like Phase Locket, just for like getting a lot of damage in on the bosses. But I do like a lot of the other ones, like the funny one like Fishing Rod and the Mobile Gear. Like the Mobile Gear is just great for navigating around some like tough spike areas, especially like let's say in Tinker Knight stage.
Yeah.
And then Fishing
What's
Rod is
the
great for getting like some extra food and stuff.
what's the mobile gear do again?
It's like the little gear. You can like jump on it, and it'll just keep going forward.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like that item. That one's fun.
Yeah.
Um
No, there's a lot of
I
items in the game in general, so like it's hard to keep track of all of them.
Personally, one of my favorite ones is the Infinidagger.
Oh yeah, the Infinidagger. Yeah, no, I do love all the flying daggers, but like the Infinidagger is obviously kind of broken on some stages because it is only something you can use with the custom characters. I'm pretty sure in the Switch version or Nintendo versions of the game with the Shovel Knight amiibo, because that's how I use the Infinidagger. I have the Shovel Knight amiibo, but it's just such a stupid and funny weapon.
It's so silly.
You know, it does actually kind of remind me, not just Infinidagger, but one thing I do like about this game as well, and this is more of a short topic, but also harkening back to like the 8-bit era games, they do have a lot of funny cheat codes. Some of them just for giving you items and stuff. Other ones though, like will make Shovel Knight huge, will have some crazy Warhorn effect, or one of my favorites is the butt code, which it's as juvenile as it sounds. Like a lot of the dialogue will just be replaced with butt. So like shovel butt and shield butt went on to take the order of no butts.
I mean,
It's stupid, but it's
it's
lovable.
very stupid, but it's funny.
Yeah, that's why I love it. It's something they didn't really have to put in the game, but they did, and it's just always fun to mess with, you know. Because that's what I feel like is one aspect that's just great about Shovel Knight is besides the simple moveset, there's a lot of customizability in general.
Yeah, there's a lot of different approaches you can make, which I personally really like.
Yeah, because while there are some parts that like, oh, if you're really good at the game, you can just quickly get through by just like some tight navigating or something, or not tight jumps and whatnot. Other
Yeah.
times you can play it a bit more safe, like or use the phase lock and whatnot. They're always great about giving you a lot of different options for how you want to approach the levels, and just really empowering you as a player, you know.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think the game allows you to use a lot of these different items in really unique ways because, for example, like with the dust knuckles and stuff like that, yeah, you can use them in a way that like to fight enemies, but they'll also like push you forward a good amount, so you can also use them for like platforming and stuff like that. And I think there's just so many applications you can use some of these items for that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like some of the items are specifically designed for certain levels, especially like when you can find unlocked relics, because some of them you can just buy. Other ones, a lot of times you have to find throughout the stages on like hidden paths. So like the Dust Knuckles, I know in like Mole Knight stage, there's like a great section for the Dust Knuckles there because you can just tear through a bunch of blocks instead of like dealing with a lot of the platforming. So like in that way you
Yeah.
feel rewarded for like taking that extra time to explore the levels carefully, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like one other thing that helps with all these relics as well, for the most part, is about all of them. Like, none of them will give you a direct tutorial at the start. They will just like tell you what they can do, but a lot of them do have like little mini stages that are dedicated to specifically those items. So like, oh, there's one for the Dust Knuckle where I have to like go through a lot of these blocks, like Connor was saying, to navigate through the area, or in this one I have to use the phase locket to get through some spikes that otherwise it would be impossible for me to get through in general, you know.
Yeah. I guess speaking of, do we want to move on to talking about like some of the actual stages?
Yeah, we can talk about the stages some more.
Do you want to, or is there any specific one you want to like highlight or?
I don't think there's any in particular because I've already mentioned a lot of the ones I really like. Like obviously the tutorial stage is great for getting you through and showing you the mechanics. Lich Yard is awesome with the lights that keep going on and off, which I'll get into a little for like the graphics of this game on like why that is specifically great. But I think mechanically speaking, just all the levels are very solid. Like even the ones like Polar Knight stage that has ice mechanics, like ice mechanics. I hate that in my platformers. I really didn't mind that too much. Again, even when they try to throw you off a little bit. The controls always feel very tight.
Yeah, exactly. And like that is something that I think is like really like commendable because there's that whole thing of like ice physics suck, water physics suck, because in most games they do, but this is a game where I feel like makes those physics feel actually like fun to explore and navigate.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think another great one, I know you love this one as well, is like Clockwork Tower.
Yeah, Clockwork Tower is so fun. I just kind of really enjoy like um I guess like clock like levels in general, because like they always sort of have this like rhythmic feel to them that I always enjoy. Um, and Clockwork Tower is always one that I really like. I just like the aesthetic.
Hey Connor, what if I could tell you there's a game literally called Clock Tower?
Whoa.
Would that be your favorite game
I
of all time?
I don't know. Maybe. Just
Maybe
maybe.
in a future episode of Fetch Quest, we will see. I don't even know how good the game is. I've never played Clock Tower. I just know that game exists.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny, I gotta admit.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite stage, which is a real shame since it's one of the first ones, is probably Lich Yard. I just love this stage so much. It's got Spectre Knight, who's probably my favorite Shovel Knight character. It's got such a great theme, and it's just such a like great level to explore and look at.
Yeah, Spectre Knight is definitely like kinda edgy, but he's still cool. He's still really cool,
He's
especially in this
ore
campaign.
farming. He's ore farming, all right? Leave him alone.
All right, I'll leave him alone. The one thing I don't want to leave alone though is, like I mentioned before, the graphics of this game, because this game is obviously very much 8-bit inspired and uses a lot all that pixel art. But they do, like you said, they add a couple of modern touches to like really elevate it. So like they'll use a couple more colors than you would usually see in an 8-bit color palette. They don't limit themselves as much to like, well, they very much still try to be strict with it. When necessary, they do add other colors in to make a lot of the graphics nice. That, and on top of that, they do stuff that the NES can't usually do. Like, the reason I was mentioning the Lich Yard is because of like, the lights shutting off with like darkness and whatnot. Which I felt like the way they
Mhm.
did that, because Shovel Knight was actually built in like a 3D engine, so they have all the layers in front of each other. They probably just like turned off the light source completely, and that's just how they could replicate that effect.
That's actually like kind of sick.
Yeah, no,
I had no idea it was a 3D like like made in 3D.
yeah, no, it's actually pretty common for a lot of 2D games because, like Shovel Knight uses a lot of different layers and stuff, which art is also would be very hard to do on like actual NES hardware. But on a 3D engine, you just put even though you're not working with like 3D objects, you put the 2D images in front or behind each other, and boom, you have easy layers without having to do some complicated stuff with the background image, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can quickly change stuff on the fly for player interactivity, and as well, you can have some really cool visual effects with like even like the water or like the lava and Mole Knight stage and whatnot. That or
Yeah,
Plague Knight
that's
stage,
sick.
that one's really cool.
That's actually like really cool. I never knew that.
Yeah, no, there's a
Thank
lot that
you
runs in this
for
game.
divulging that information. I don't
No
know why I
problem.
started
It
talking.
is my pleasure as the Nerd Knight.
I don't know why I started talking like Alan for a second from
The
Slimy
Red
Friends.
Guy Knight.
The red guy night. Yeah, no, that's actually like really cool. But I guess if we're done talking about stages, do we want to? Because I know you were pretty hyped to talk about this. Is like the sort of Kickstarter and content and stuff like that they added post
Yeah,
release.
no, I'd be happy to, because there's obviously a lot more we could even still keep saying on Shovel Knight's campaign. But what made Shovel Knight just like so big in the indie scene is like the Kickstarter that started it all. Because while there are a lot of Kickstarter these days, and some of them haven't been the greatest or kind of scammy, or also it's kind of just bloated with a lot. I'd say back when Shovel Knight released, it was still like relatively new, which worked out great for Yacht Club Games because Shovel Knight got a lot of attention, especially just for how it was being made and the type of game it was. And they had a very successful campaign. And one thing I admire so much is they haven't half-assed any of their content, because after the original Shovel Knight campaign, they had a fan vote for like what extra playable characters they wanted in the game based off the other Knights in Order of No Quarter. So the three that emerged from that was Spectre Knight, Plague Knight, and King Knight. And all of them have their own separate campaigns. Instead of just extra playable characters in the same stages, all of them have unique campaigns. Well, Plague Knights is kind of somewhat similar to Shovel Knights, but that was the first one, so I'll cut them a little slack. They were figuring things out. But they all have unique campaigns with some unique bosses, completely new movesets for each of the characters. And it's just amazing to see how much content Shovel Knight has. It's not just Shovel Knight anymore, it's the Shovel Knight treasure trove. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of bonuses and challenges you can take on. Heck, there's even a like kind of Smash Bros mode where like now you can basically play as all the characters and even some extra ones that weren't usually playable. To take each other on in a Smash Bros type of fighter that also has its own mini campaign as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, again, the team has gone above and beyond. Like, besides just Shovel Knight as well, it's like they had their Shovel Knight spin-offs, and now they have Mina the Hollower coming up.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've also like made a bunch of spin-offs and stuff like that too, like a King of Cards and stuff like that.
Well, King of Cards is part of the Shovel Knight treasure trove. I think you're thinking. I know what you're referencing. There's another kind of tabletop game. I know there's Shovel Knight Dig, which I have not played yet. And then let me look up real quick what the other spin-offs are.
I know there's Shovel Knight Dig,
Dungeon,
which is like
Pocket Dungeon.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't blame you for getting too confused though, because King of Cards, one thing that campaign has is actually like, for some reason, an entirely separate like card battler mode within it that you actually have to do to get through parts of the campaign. It's like so stupid and random, but I love it. Especially just because King Knight is kind of an idiot, but I love him. Oh man.
Yeah, no, I haven't really played any of the spin-offs, but I do know that I will definitely be getting Mina the Hollower, which is Yacht Club's newest game that's should be when this releases should be out.
Yeah.
And I've been like watching this forever, or like for as long as I can, and I am very excited.
No, I am as well, because again, it has that same level of polish, and they've tried to cram in as much as possible in a very reasonable $20 price tag. Which I will say, I do hate to bring this up, but Yacht Club Games has quite literally said if Mina the Hollower does not sell well enough, they will probably just go bankrupt. So please support them. Please support some very dedicated indie devs that have gone out of their way to go above and beyond, even when it wasn't required of them. Because, like I said before, the original Kickstarter, they could have kept the goals much simpler, or just when they added the content, like not gone as extreme as they did. But I feel like part of the reason Yacht Club Games has unfortunately probably gone a little in the red is just because of how much they put into the extra content that they really didn't charge people extra for. Because if you backed up the Kickstarter or bought Shovel Knight before the extra campaigns were added, they didn't charge you extra for any of the other campaigns. They did later raise the price of Treasure Trove, which has all the campaigns combined into one bundle. It's about like $40 if I'm not mistaken. But if you had it originally, they were very good to you, and they just gave it to you for free, which is just insane for how much content each of these campaigns has on their own. So I feel like
Yeah, no,
all
that's
that they've
crazy.
done there is part of the reason that they're maybe a little in the red, because unfortunately game development is just very expensive.
Yeah, no, it's so pricey, and um, I am very excited for Meat of the Hollower, and I will definitely be buying it though, because I mean, as you said, this is a very dedicated team of devs who, I mean, from the sheer amount of stuff they've just been adding, they've added like post-release for Hollow Knight and all the stuff they've done for the like their fans and stuff like that. Like yeah, I would absolutely be devastated to see that not be rewarded for them.
Yeah, because again, they've gone above and beyond what they had to do, and I think that's unfortunately why they're again having some financial troubles right now. Which I think again that's something you'll usually only see from like indie devs like this, very passionate devs that are doing this for the players and for the fans a lot of the times.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything else I can add. Do you want to move on to concluding points?
Yeah, and before our concluding points again, please pick up Mina the Hollower. It's looking to be really solid so far, and just a great campaign for a great value, similar to Silksong last year.
Honestly, yeah. And yeah, no, I mean, yeah, just pick up Mina the Hollower. I'm gonna be doing it, and you should too.
Yep.
So, I guess I'll start with my concluding points.
All right.
Shovel Knight is just a really fun game. I think the like moveset, controls, the like art style, music, bosses, like everything is just firing on all cylinders. I really can't think of like too many flaws with the game, and it was a very successful indie game, and in fact and very influential too. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the first indie game to win an award at the Game Awards. And it's just like, I think it's very much a big piece of like at least indie game history. And so I'm very excited to see the developers release like their next big thing, and I'm very excited to see like what's gonna happen with that.
Yeah, well said. I agree about everything you said there. For my concluding points, very similar thoughts. Just Shovel Knight is a fantastic campaign. It takes a lot of inspiration from the past, but it does everything it can to stand on its own as well. So while it has some cool references here and there, it's mostly a game that stands by on its own merits and will be great for any player to pick up, whether you are more into retro stuff or if you just like more modern games. But it has so much content to it as well, and it's just such a fantastic package with such a loving development team behind it. I cannot recommend Shovel Knight enough. Shovel Knight for Smash Bros, because also he got an assist trophy in Smash Bros, so maybe it would be cool to see him get a full character someday in like Smash 6, I guess.
It'd be really cool to see that.
Yeah, and besides that, just I've said about all I can. Please pick up Mina the Hollower if it interests you. It's looking to be a really great experience for 2026. But with that,
and I guarantee we will talk about it some other time. So
oh yeah, we definitely will. And especially if you guys want to hear about Mina the Hollower, or maybe even some more of the Shovel Knight campaigns, maybe comment below on your thoughts on the video. Just tell us your thoughts on like how we did and whatnot. And if you enjoyed this content, please make sure to like and subscribe. But with that, we've been the Fetch Quest Podcast. Thank you very much for watching.
All right, goodbye.